Hey guys and gals, how y'all doing out there today? For the longest time, I wanted a Hinderer knife, and I made do with this one here. It's the Kershaw Cryo. You know, that's a bad wording. I did better than made do. This is actually a really good knife for the money, and I've said that in the review. It's really hard to beat these for 35 bucks. They fit in the hand really nicely. If you're into a smaller knife, they have the smaller version, which is just the Cryo, not the Cryo 2. It's really hard to say anything bad about these, like I said, especially for the money. But I knew I wanted a nice Hinderer knife, and the XM18s are just way too expensive for me, and they just don't pull me in flat out. There's not a big draw to them. The 0560 unfortunately was discontinued, but realistically I think that would have been a little bit too big for me. But this one here that I bought is perfect. This is the 0562 by ZT, Rick Hinderer design. Just awesome. Flat out. You want the short version, this is an awesome knife, go buy one. We're going to go over it and just review it like we normally do and talk about it. But, yeah, let's just get to it. I'm going to say the one negative thing I have to say about this knife. No lanyard hole, unfortunately. I mean, it's not a big hit against the knife. I prefer to have a lanyard hole, but it's here nor there. Do I wish it had it? Yes. But am I going to die without it? No. A awesome pocket clip. Flat out. I'm not a big fan of deep carry, normally. But this one is just done right. It is loop over. It actually, goes all the way up to the top. And now normally, clips like this I have a little bit of a bad stigma with, just because the Soggy Aegis has a similar clip, and I just don't like that clip. It had way too big of a loop, and your pants would roll up in it, and it would get caught, and it would be hard to get out of pocket, and it just didn't work well. This, it doesn't have too big of a loop here. So it doesn't allow your pants to roll up. It's easy to get out of pocket, but it still has plenty of spring tension on it. And it's just a great clip, I gotta say. Yeah. The G10 on this side. I hate to throw around words like perfection or perfect at all, because I don't like saying it, especially on gear. But this is perfect for me. Flat out, this is how I want my G10 all the time. I wish all of my G10 knives were just like this. It's grippy, but not too grippy. It's not going to tear up your hands in use. It's not going to tear up your pockets at all. It just really is great. And I'll try and get it on camera here, but it's G10. You kind of just got to feel it. Simple black. They do have a carbon fiber version of this knife, which I did try, but I did not like as much as the G10, because I also enjoy good stone wash. This is my first knife with titanium scales or titanium lock bar. I gotta say, I'm very impressed. We'll bring back the Cryo 2 here. Steel frame locks. This one actually is one of those. I do love this knife, but you really got to push on that lock bar to get this to disengage. It's probably one of my stiffest frame locks that I have. It's just kind of hard to undo. This thing, absolutely not. This buttery smooth, I think, would be the best way to put it. You push the thing over and it just slides, and it's like it's as smooth as glass doing that. Yeah, I gotta say, it is helped, don't get me wrong, by the steel lock bar interface. So it's steel on steel, not steel on titanium. And you can see with that screw in there, it does have one. Like I said, the steel on titanium, you can get lock stick, and I've seen a bunch of it. And it's kind of why I stay away from knives with titanium lock bars that don't have a steel insert there. Now, that insert actually does act as a lock bar stabilizer. The cool thing about this, though, it already has the Hinderer lock bar stabilizer. So this knife literally has a backup to it. I'm never worried about overextending this lock bar. And yeah, I mean, you'd have to do something insane with this that I don't think human hands could probably do. And I never intend to find out. So we're good there. Alright. The handle overall is extremely ergonomic, and that is one thing that Rick Hinderer is known for. Just it fits in the hand in a, basically any type of cut that you want to do, a draw cut, your reverse, your pinch grips. I can't think of a bad way to hold this thing. And then in your normal saber grip, This little line of jimping, this tiny little line of jimping, is perfect. You don't need any more than this. I wish they had maybe extended it just a little bit onto the frame, but you got to do a thrust attack. You're not moving. With how ergonomic the handle is, it just kind of locks you in, and that little run of jimping there, it does its job, and it's not a problem, flat out. I was very, very impressed. 3.5-inch blade of S35 VN. I know these used to be in LMAX, but for some reason they stopped doing it. I wanted to try LMAX, because I've never had an LMAX blade, but I can't lie, I think I'm a little happier having S35, just because I know that steel. It's a steel that, it's on how many knives that I own. I know how to sharpen it really well. It's, yeah. Like I said, 3.5, and now this is kind of interesting because this is apparently the closest you can get to an XM18, because this is actually the Hinderer slicer grind. It's got, you can see this kind of, normal Hinderer type shape, but then it does a flat grind on this section of blade. And I gotta say, it slices surprisingly well, for being a ZT, because it does have pretty thick blade stock. Let's put it up against here, just this normal standard here, the Griptilian. It's not overly thick, but it is pretty thick. It slices fairly well. I gotta say, it cuts through just about anything I have asked it to. I have carved wood with this, I've done cardboard, tape, all your standard, paracord, anything you could really normally do in your day-to-day life. The plastic straps on pallets. It has excelled very, very well. Has a nice strong tip. Let's see if we can get it to focus here. Yep, has a nice strong tip. Not surprising with it being a ZT, all that blade stock. Yeah, there's not too much I can really say about the blade other than the fact that it works. It is a great blade. Now, if you see these up here, these are actually stop pins. Some people say that you cannot use the stop pins as thumb studs. I found if you want to, you can. You need to want to do it, though. It's not the easiest thing to do. In fact, I don't think I can do it with my left. Oh, no, got it that time. You need to put a lot of effort into it, and if you're needing to get your knife out quickly in an emergency situation, it's not the best option. What is the best option, though? This beautiful flipper tab. It's nicely rounded. It's not sharp. It makes this thing fly out of its handle like it's nobody's business. And that's one thing I will say ZT always does very well. They do manual flippers and their detents very well. And absolutely no complaints about that. Now, this thing actually does run on ball bearings. Let's open it up here. And I'm just going to let it fall here. Yep, just falls real quick. It does have a secondary detent, so it doesn't fall close on your hand, but once you get it, it wants to fold. Here, let's try it this way. Yeah, it is smooth. Absolutely no complaints about it. I did tighten it up just a little bit because it actually fell shut on my fingers and cut me at one point. So, yeah, that wasn't the best, but, so I just tightened it up. And speaking of tightening up the pivot, it has the decorative pivot that a lot of people don't like. This is on Kershaw and ZT models alike. A lot of people don't like it because it technically is a free spinning pivot. There's no octagonal shape on one side to keep it locked in, or a D-shaped pivot or anything like that. But I gotta say, this one hasn't moved. I've adjusted it from the factory, and it has not budged since. Lockup is solid. I can't describe it any other way. No blade movement in any direction. Like I said, this is not the absolute #1 knife in my collection, but this is a very close second just because this thing is just perfect. Now, let's go on to the price quick, and then we'll get on to size comparisons. $200. It was kind of a hard pill to swallow. I do work at Amazon. I get a little bit of a discount, but it's still $180. We'll call it that. It's an expensive knife, but flat out, it's worth it. It is just so worth that price. I really can't say it any other way. It is totally worth the price. Go out and buy one. before they discontinue this one, because that'll be a sad day. Alright, let's do our quick size comparison, and we'll get out of here. As always, the Benchmade grip tilling on the bottom. This is a 3.5 inch blade. This is 3.45 technically. So it's going to come up just a little bit shorter on the grip tilling. Handle length is relatively close, but this is definitely still longer. Much lighter though. This is a pretty heavy knife. It's not ZT0909, I think 7 ounces. It's not that heavy, but it's still pretty hefty. And just because we have it out, the only other Hinderer model that I have, the Kershaw Cryo 2. This is a 3.25 inch blade, so it's definitely going to have a shorter handle, a shorter blade. Yeah, like I said, cheap, affordable Hinderer, let's put it mid-range Hinderer. And then we'll bring out the only other ZT that I have, the 0909. This is a big honkin' blade. Like I said, 7 ounces on this. It does have a shorter blade than the 0909, and also a shorter handle, which is to be expected. Is a lot thinner than the 0909, though. Here we go. Yeah, this thing is a big honkin' blade, and yeah, it's... conclusions, like I said, flat out, go out and buy one. These are great. The action's smooth. The flipper tab is awesome. The detent works perfectly. It's not so tight that you can't get the thing out, but it's not, super light. It's just everything about this knife, I think, is just about perfect. The lockup is super solid. The centering's right on. It's just, these are great knives. Alright, thanks guys. If you could, please like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. If you could, leave me a comment about how I'm doing. I know I've been gone for a while. Just, if there's any knives you think I should check out, please let me know. And, alright guys, take care.